Probably we can show model here. Click up the login button, successfully logged in or paid password or something like that. Continue. This is the response. But of course, you have to give it normally response. You can specify how many columns you want, how many based on that. So, what we are going to learn today, we are going to learn the concept of Sass. We are going to learn the concepts of Sass. Then, we will be also learning customizing Bootstrap. Customizing. First of all, we have already discussed briefly about what is Sass. Sass is nothing but CSS plus pure programming. So let us try to use this. So what I will do is I will do this. Let us this button. Let us we have created this. So I'll close everything. And I'll maintain only two things, one dot SAS and one dot CSS. Now we will try to learn SAS. I'll go to subtitle SAS line. Practically I have to switch. Learn SAS. So first of all, SAS has the two versions, two formats it supports. That supports two syntaxes. One is .sass and there is .scss. And .scss is a developer friendly. That's why more people use it. So we are going to work on SCSS only. That's why the file name we have created is .scss. Then how do I use this concept? First, let us learn variables. Do I need to tell what is variables? We have already worked on. The only difference between JavaScript variables and Sass variables are syntax. Here, the variable name starts with a dollar. Variable name starts with a dollar, and the value you will be giving is equal to you will be giving not equal to. So, for example, if I wanted to create a variable in JavaScript, we be saying let a is equal to 2 like this. But in Sass, only dollar a. Syntax is concept is now I can create a variable. Now here I am coming to Sass. Let me delete everything. I want to create Sass. I'll say dollar. Okay, I'll say duplicate variable. Main heading font size 2 REM and dollar paragraph para font size 1 REM. Like this, I can create certain variables, and wherever I want, I can. Now I have created this variable. What is the main heading font size is 2 REM, paragraph font size 1 REM. Now what I will do, I am creating element selector. Then I'll say font size. I'll say dollar. Now this generates CSS. Why it is not generating CSS? Basically, not seeing CSS is generated or not generated. It is not generated. Why? Because we are not running Sass command. So what I'll do, I'll say one command I will use it for the npm start running the project. The another terminal I use it for running the Sass. I'll say Sass space hyphen path, then src slash 1.scss, then src slash 1.scss. Enter. It will create it in a moment. It's created. Now you see our CSS file. You can create Sass to CSS with some extensions of Visual Studio Code extensions are there. You can create these things with that extensions of, but those extensions are failing if you are converting huge Sass to CSS. Those extensions are failing if you are converting huge Sass to CSS. That's why we are not using those extensions. We are using command. Now this is succeeding in that scenario. Got my point? Okay. Now I have created the variable. Understood the variable concept? Complicated? Now paragraph font. I wanted to change it. Now I'll say like that. Now these are variables. I can use it in 100 places. I'm just showing you one place I'm using it. If you wanted to use it in so many other places, you can use it. That is the purpose of variable. Hmm. Yeah. For example, I have different types of headings. Different classes are there. Now attendance headings, classroom attendance headings, login headings, user headings, admin headings, like that. I am maintaining so many classes, CSS classes. In that case, I can specify the colors or I can specify sizes and everything can be done. Understanding what I mean? Yes. Okay, I'll show you. You can understand it in the second example. Let's say class class. Let's say color orange, then font size. I can give 4 REM also, but I don't want 4 REM. I want standard headings. So here I'll use dollar main heading font size. Now I have decided that 2 REM is heavy. I change it to 1.2 REM. How many places it changes to? That's what variable is. Reusability. The more I reuse, the more it will be helpful. Got my point? Right now we are writing 10 lines of CSS. It is 1000 lines of CSS, you will understand. Got my point? Now what I can do, I can create a color, what background color. That color I can use it in everywhere. Later, if I want to change the background color, change it in one place, it reflects it. It's a variable. See, while calculating the marks of a 10th student, we are creating a variable called pass marks. The same we are using everywhere. If we change the pass marks in one place, it reflects everywhere. Same thing. Got a point? Complicated. The only difference is syntax changes. The variable starts with dollar and it's not is equal to it is colon. Then whatever the value you want. Now if I change this here, it reflects here and it reflects here. Wherever I have used, it reflects there also. If I use this variable 100 places, it reflects in all 100 places. Got a point? Create different variables. You create the variable, assign the value to it, and use it in your element selectors or class selectors or ID selectors. Earlier, what we were doing, at the end, CSS means what? Either we write element selector or class selector or ID selector. All the code, all the values, property name and the property value, we'll be writing it there only. But what I am saying now, property name will be either element selector or class selector or ID selector. Value you store it into variable and use it in those selectors. Whenever you want it to change, you change it in the variable. It reflects everywhere. Understanding what I'm saying? Complicated? Yes. Repeating. Good to use. See, TypeScript is much better than JavaScript, no doubt about it. But market is using JavaScript. You have to be according to the market. There is nothing wrong to know extra knowledge. Not a point. See, many people say, I don't know Sass. Then you have to enter into the picture, yes, I know. Then it creates value. Got a point? That value we are trying to use it. You already know CSS. You already know JavaScript. You just mix little bit. That's it. You know this. This is not rocket science. It's not like you have to train well on this for 4 months. One session. Actually, today only we are starting working on Sass. Today we have created the Sass file. Inside that, we have created CSS only. You will be understanding it. I will be finishing this. By then, you will be understanding what is the advantage. Okay. Understanding what I am saying. Okay. Or you can create a variable dollar and set theme. You will give the value light. Now I can write if else. If the theme is light, text color is this, heading color is this, background color is this. The theme color, if theme is dark, text color is this. All those things can be done. If else it works now. Like that we can write. And in Sass, you can create variables like this. Font names also you can specify. Font sizes also you can specify. Now, you mention the font name in one variable. Use that variable everywhere. If you wanted to change the font size, font name, you change it in that variable. Everywhere it changes. Got a point? In that cases, we can use it. This is SSCSS syntax, which looks like coding. This is Sass syntax. It doesn't look like coding. Is it looking like coding? That's why I use SSCSS. Okay. Next, we have one more concept called nesting. We have one more concept called nesting. What is this nesting concept? Any idea? Element inside element, basically. Now it is like this. For example, now in in our app.js. Okay, for our convenience, what I do, I will comment it for now. I am commenting everything. I have commented everything, and I just create a form. I just create a div. Commented. All the code we have commented. Uh, then say I'll create div. I'm creating a div. Inside this div, I'm creating form. Inside this form, I'm creating div again. Inside this, I'm creating label. Say enter username. I'm getting a simple login. Say input. I'm just giving it. I'm creating it. Enter. Because I have created a simple form. And if I see here, I should see that here it is. Now, if you want, you can make it center and all those things, and you can do it. Now, what I'm going to show you, I'm going to apply some styles to this div. It's inside form. So, how do I do that? Normally, we'll give here I'll say last name app. So it should show center now. The structure and it given there. It is showing center. Now I wanted to give some margins to the divs inside the form element. Okay. So now observe here what I'm going to do. I'm going to see Sass file, and normally what we write the form in space. That means we are referring to div inside the form. But here the syntax is slightly easier. But now you just div remove like this, and inside this you can write div like this. Structure works. Now inside that, if you wanted to refer input, yes, you give input like this. Then whatever the styles you give it here, we'll be applying to input which is inside div, which is inside form. Now it's a background color is orange. Now if I see here, now see orange. Now according to the structure. Now what I will do here, inside this I'll give background color powder. I am giving all at the same same place. Whatever I am giving, whatever I have to give to form, I am giving it within form. Whatever I have to give it within div, I can give within div. Whatever I have to give it within input, I can give within. Now here, I will say border 2 pixel solid. For form also we are giving, for div also we are giving, for input also we are giving. Everything is at the same. Specific also we are giving, common also we are. This will not work in CSS. This generates spaces. Now sitting here. See, whatever I have given to form, it is generated. Whatever I have given to div inside form, it is generated. Whatever I have given to input inside div inside form, it is generated. We have, it is actually 10 to 18, 8 lines we have created it. Here everything is single. Everything inside single form. Which is easier? Sass is easy. But again, browser cannot understand Sass. That's why it is generating. Understood the concept. So now this is applying to only input. This is applying to only div. This is applying to only. Like that it works. This concept is called nesting. Here it is. Any one this one. Understand? We create a function inside a function. Something like that. We create a selector inside another select. Okay. Next, we have a concept called partials. This is very important concept and very useful concept actually. Now imagine I have 20 modules in our project. 20 modules means just take Pulse for example. Task related are in task module. That means creating the task, submitting the task, reviewing the task. All these are related to tasks module. Attendance module, like showing, displaying the attendance, updating the attendance, separate thing. Leaves module, displaying the leaves, applying the leaves. Understanding? So different modules will be having it. That means different screens will be having it. So now if we have so many modules, each module may have different styles also. Our CSS file becomes heavy. Our CSS file becomes heavy. Now let us see in our React application, we can write everything in app.js. Yes or no? Everything we can write it. But why are we creating separate components and using it in app.js? Segregating means makes it more easier. Exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. All these days we are writing everything in single CSS file. Before React style.css, after React app.css, everything. The application is bigger, can be 100 lines, 200 lines, 500 lines, 1000 lines, 10,000 lines also. Everything we are writing. Now, yes, it works, no doubt about it, but it becomes complicated if the number of lines are more. You can take advantage of partials. You can take advantage of partials. That means what? You can create a separate Sass file for specific part of. That means I wanted to create, I wanted to maintain certain CSS, certain styles for tasks. I'll be creating a partial. How to create a partial? You just create the CSS file with just underscore in it. Starts with underscore. Now it is like this. Now if I create one.scss, it generates one.css. Okay, if I say abc.scss, it generates abc.css. But if I say underscore xyz dot scss, this will not generate any CSS file. If you create any Sass file starting with underscore, it will not create a separate CSS file. First thing. And second thing, this can be imported wherever you want. So this is like app.js, this is like a component. We'll be creating component as a separate file and using it in app.js, right? Same thing. Now, for example, I have 20 pages. We'll be creating 20 components. Everything we use it in app.js, right? In the same way, for 20 pages, we'll create 20 partials. Everything we import it in one.sass. Easy to organize it. If you wanted to modify some styles of 19th component, you just come to that CSS, modify it. That will be automatically included in one.sass. Generates the CSS. This concept is called partials. It's exactly like components. We create so many components and use it in app.js. The same way we can create so many partials, use it in mains. Now let us try it. Now see here, you can create partial Sass files that contain little snippets of CSS that you can include in other Sass files. This is a great way to modularize your CSS and help keeping things easier to maintain. Why are we creating so many components? It is easier to handle. Now I wanted to create sign up screen. I wanted to create login screen. I wanted to create forgot password screen. I wanted to create task update screen, task submission screen. So many screens I wanted. So many forms I wanted. I can put it everything in app.js. I can create it everything in app.js. But what we are doing, we are creating separate components and using it in app.js. Easy to handle it. Exactly the same. Now see here, a partial is a Sass file named with the leading underscore. Leading means starting. So a partial is a Sass file name with a starting underscore. You make the name something like this. The underscore lets Sass know that the file is only a partial file and it should not be generated. It should not be generated into a CSS file. Sass partials are used with @user. Understanding what I'm saying? Okay, now what I will do, I'll create like this. I'll create a Sass file called underscore login.scss. That means all files of login screen will be inside this. I'll say background color or whatever. I'll say dot login color something, some styles I'm creating it. It can be multiple. This is login screen, and I'm going to create one more underscore sign up dot scss. Sign up dot scss. Then here I'll say dot sign up. I am just creating dummy one-liner or two-liner CSS. You can create hundreds of lines also. Say color something like that. Then I am creating one more underscore tasks. CSS. There is something related to tasks, I'll be writing it in the tasks. Now I have created three partials started with underscore. Have you seen any CSS files with these names? No. One dot says it is creating one dot CSS, but these things are not created. Yes or no? Let me show you. I will create one more and say, of course, we have to give. If I create abc dot Sass, it will be generating abc dot CSS. If I give the command, but even if I give the command, this will not generate because these are all partials. Now, what I wanted to do, I don't want it to write so everything into single CSS file, single CSS file. That's why I'm creating partial. After creating partials, I can import it and use it. I can import it and use it. Now, if you go through their documentation, Sass partials are used with the use rule. Use rule. That means what? Now, I come to one.sass and here I will use use. Then I'll say underscore login dot SCSS. Actually, no need of giving extension also. The login, sign up, then tasks. We are creating it as a separate file and we are importing it here. Now see what happens. Don't note down. Now I have done it. Now let us see our CSS file. One.css. Are you able to see? Now whatever I have written in login is coming. Whatever I have written in sign up is coming. Whatever I have written in tasks is coming. Now in interviews, people ask you, imagine you have so many components, so many screens, but you have only one CSS file. Won't it be difficult? Won't it be difficult to manage everything in a single CSS? Then what should be your answer? Now, if you don't know the Sass concept, then you will say we'll be creating separate CSS for different screens or components. Then they will ask you. Then what about the common CSS? Some styles should be common for everywhere. Now, how do you handle it? That will be the question. Now you can say we can take advantage of partials. We can take advantage of partials. Got my point? So now the CSS file which you see is not written by us. It is automatically generated, and it is generating from not single file, from 4 files. One.sass, tasks, sign up, login. From 4 file, from 4 Sass files, it is generating one CSS file. And one important thing you have to understand, here if you click on this down arrow, see only .sass supports use use. Users of other implementations must use import. That's what I am saying. We are not using dot, we are using JavaScript. Actually, we have to use import as per their documentation. But probably they are supporting use now, but they might have not updated this partials concept, this documentation. Got my point? Clear? Partials are modules, it's the same thing. Got your point? It's our component app.js approach. We create so much of JSXML in different components and import it in app.js the same. Okay. Now see here. Have you ever used partials? Yeah, we have used it, but not directly. Now see here. We have imported Bootstrap here. We have imported Bootstrap. So I'll just search for Bootstrap. In Bootstrap, we have Sass folder. Are you able to see? In Sass folder, if I open it, what are these things? Starting with underscore. That means what? Partials. They have created so many partials, and everything they are importing it in one Sass file. From that Sass file, they are generating the CSS file. The length of that CSS file is around 11,000 lines. So the 11,000 lines of CSS which we have seen is not from one single file. That 11,000 CSS file, 11,000 lines CSS file is generated from one Sass file. That one Sass file has imported so many Sass partials. Got your point? So that means we have used Sass or not, partials or not, not directly, indirectly. We have used Bootstrap CSS. That Bootstrap CSS is generated from Bootstrap Sass. That Bootstrap Sass is has imported so many partials. Okay. And we have a concept called mixins. Mixin means function. You can create functions with parameters also. You can create it. The syntax is slightly different. If you wanted to create a function or mixin, in JavaScript terminology, in programming language terminology, we call it as function. Here we call it as mixin. At the rate mixin, then name. Then while you wanted to use it, you have to use at the rate include. Then that name. Got your point? Now let us try this. In one dot says I'll say mixin. Mixin is nothing but function. Mixin is nothing but function. See, we call pani for water in Hindi. We call water for water in English. Exactly. Function we call it as function in JavaScript. Function we call it as mixin in Sass. So I'll say do something. We have created it. We have to syntax is slightly different. Then you can apply some styles. I'll say background color, say green, text color, I'll say white. Now I have created a function basically. Now what I will do? Now I'm just deleting this. H1 I'm deleting it. And here I'm using for H1, I'll say at the rate include, then do something. That means whatever the styles we have mentioned in this mixin comes to this H1. Now the background color will be green, the text color should be white. Now if I come to CSS, one.css, now we should see that. One.css. Now if I see H1 C. You are getting it. If I create a function, how many places I can use? How many places we can use? Any number of places. Here also the same thing. You write something and use it everywhere. Use it everywhere. So just to give you an example, I'll create one more. Let's say at the rate mixing button style. I'm giving the name button style, and I'm creating like this. And I'll say uh, background color orange, basically color white, and border and pixel solid gray. I've created some background color, some text color, and border. I have given it. Now what I will do, I will use it here. Button one. I've created the style. Okay, I'll create like this. Submit button. I've created a CSS class, and here I am using include button styles. So if you see the output, all the three. Yes or no? Now what I will do, I will come to app.js. Here I'll create a div. I'll create a button. For this, I will give as a name equal to submit button. I have given it. Now that style should come. Orange color, background, white color text, and the border thickness should come. Are you able to see it? But I haven't given any text to it. I'll say just showing like this. Now I wanted to create one more button. I'll say upload button. Now here also I am using the same thing. Observe like this. Now here I will come app.js. I'll create one more button. I'll just use the style upload button. Here I'll say yes or no. Now I'll create one more button. Here. Clear button. Now for this I am creating the style named clear button. But that there is nothing like that. So I am creating one more. Clear. Perfectly fine. Now what I wanted to do, submit button, upload button, clear button, border should be same, text color should be same, but background color I want it. Background color I want it to change. Now what I will do, I will modify this function mixin basically. This button styles mixin a bit different. I'll tell this is basically function. I wanted to make it as functions with parameters. So what I will do, I'll say dollar $pg dollar text dollar. I have created 3 parameters, and this bg first parameter I am assigning to background color. The second parameter I am assigning to color. The third parameter I am assigning it to border. Now I have modified the function with the 3 parameters. Now while calling I can pass those 3 parameters. First color is background color. First color is background color, I'll give orange. Next color is white, text color, I'll give white. Next color is border color, I'll give gray. It shows exactly the same. It is showing error because we haven't used it. Here we have used it. In the next scenario, I will use purple, white, black. The clear button, I use red, green, I have created some styles and I am using it multiple times by passing multiple parameters. Now see, it is the same style we have created only once using mixin. I am using it in different variables. This is functions with parameters. Mixin means function. Mixin also supports with parameters. But the syntax is not such, syntax is different. I have created the mixin here. Mixin I have created here and I am passing the parameters. Now I want border radius for all. How many places I have to change now? 1 place. Here in this mixin I'll give border radius 5 pixel. Reflects in all the. So Sass is nothing but, see, programming has so many concepts which increases reusability, like functions, variables, functions with parameters, which increases reusability, right? Using the same concepts, we are increasing the reusability in CSS. That is what the core concept is. Syntax is different. Now the same styles I can use it for 100 flavors of buttons. But that is generating separate CSS. Now see here. Submit button, it is generating all. Upload button, it is generating all. Clear button, it is generating all. Understanding what I am saying? Everything we have written it in one single mixin actually. We are passing parameters. Here it is generating all. Understanding the advantage. I can write if-else conditions also. So now you see here. This is a function we have created it. We have something called extend. This is also for reusability only, but mixins are recommended. This is also the same thing. See, you create some styles and you can use it in multiple places like this. Like the way we have used the extend, include, here you have to use extend. Which is powerful? Include. Which is mixins are powerful. There we have a concept of parameters. But here you cannot use. Got a point? And you can use operators also, like you can perform mathematical operations. Like understanding? Sass is complicated. Easy. Confusion. Like what is the confusion? Concept confusion or syntax confusion? Syntax, that's not a big deal. Yeah. Even if you make a mistake, that will automatically tell something is wrong. Then we can correct. That's not a big deal. Syntax, of course, naturally you have to feel difficult because you are writing this for the first time. You are seeing it for the first time. Even if you have observed me, even I am copying, pasting, and modifying. If you are basic syntax problem, copy, paste it, and modify it initially, then you can write. Understand? Syntax, you can find it here. No? They can clearly mention how to write. Now I wanted to use they have given very few concepts here, but if you want really advanced, you can go to the documentation and try. In documentation, you just go to at rules, flow control. We have if else. We have if else. If you want, we can use if else also. You can use the if else also. We will try to use it. See, if else are able to see it. Yes or no? See here. This is if else if. This if else if. Now I just write something. One dot sass. One dot sass. What I'll do? Theme is light, right? Variable is the theme is the name of the variable. Light is the value of it. Now what I'll do? I'll write at the rate if dollar theme equal to light. Theme is light. Now what I want background color to be light. Text should be dark. Dark means background color should be dark. Text should be like that. I wanted to try it. Anything. That is the name of the variable. That is the name of the variable. You can write at the rate like this. Now what I will do here, and say I am creating a variable. Creating a variable called dollar body bg color. I'm saying white. For example, I'm just saying like I've created a variable called body bg color, and I'll say dollar text color. Just basic variables I have created. Now what I will do, if theme is light, what I will do, body background color, theme is light, body background color should be light color, text color should be black color, else background color should be black, dark color basically, and text color should be white. I am reversing it basically. Now what I will do here, and say body. I'm creating CSS body. Then background color of the body. What I will do, I will give this variable name. I will give this variable name. Color means text color, right? I will give this. Understanding what I am saying? So I have created a variable to store the color of body background color. I have created the variable to store the color of the text color. And I am changing the colors of values of those variables depending upon this theme. Depending upon this theme. Now see what happens. Now if I run it, I think I haven't used any text. This is inside app.js. Writing. I think H1 we have created. Basically, I am mixing CSS and coding. The background color white and the text color black it is showing. Now I will change in our Sass file to instead of light I will change it to dark. That means it goes to else part. It should show the different thing now. Of course, if it works. It's working. You can change the. Here I have to use the double effect. We are using the variable name instead. Now observe here. I am just changing the theme to light. Light color theme. That means background color change, text color change. Now I'll change this to dark. The way if I change the variable value, something is changing in the JavaScript. It's something. We are generating the background color and the text color depending upon the variable value using if else in Sass. Is it possible in CSS? Now I am just creating only light dark only. You can create if else if. If else if. You can create a lighter theme, dark theme, so many things. C theme, that theme, so many themes you can create it and you can change it everything. I'm just changing only two. You can change image sizes, image styles, paragraphs, headings, so many things you can do. We are actually coding to generate CSS. Understanding? Now you create your CSS with two themes, dark theme and white theme. Now client says your client says display it to the users in dark theme. You go to Sass and change it to dark. Everything, all the variables will be changed to dark values shows there. Now client says go change it to light theme. All the variables you just change it to light. All the variable values will be changed to light values. Understanding. This is not restricted to only if else. If you want, you can use loops only. Loops also you can use it, as I said. But this is too much. Usually we don't need this much. But understanding what I'm saying. Understood Sass? So by adding a pinch of I can compare like this. CSS is like ice cream. Sass is like like Sass is like little programming they have added to, like chocolate. If you mix both, it becomes chocolate ice cream. Ice cream and chocolate, if you add, it becomes chocolate ice cream. That's what a McDonald's sells. If you go and see them, exactly the same thing. For CSS, we are adding little pinch of coding. We are calling it as Sass. Because they are not supporting it directly, that's why indirectly. That is altogether is generating the CSS. No, is the CSS, it is generated. Now, what I wanted to do, I wanted to use Bootstrap, which we are already doing, but I wanted to customize it. How do I customize it? What they have done? 8 colors. They are building everything based on 8 colors. All those 8 colors, they have stored it into 8 variables. If you change the variable value, reflects everything. That's it. Understanding what to do that, you have to go through the documentation. Right now, if you go through their documentation, you will be understanding it. Now, what I wanted to do in our application, I wanted to create buttons actually. No, I wanted to. Let me uncomment it. Whatever I have commented, I just uncommented. So I have to keep it inside then. Now, if I open our application, I can see so many things basically. Now, I wanted to make it a light theme. Now it is basically light theme. It is showing. We have worked on it. No, primary is blue, secondary is gray, success is green, warning is yellow, and all these things. Now, in this page, Bootstrap is implemented automatically. Bootstrap is implemented. Now, what I wanted to do, I wanted to customize the Bootstrap for customizing the colors. I hate blue. I don't want blue. If I use Bootstrap, by default, blue is coming because primary color is I don't want. Now I wanted to change it according to my requirements. Now what I am going to show you is how to customize Bootstrap. How to customize Bootstrap. Now let us see this one.sass. One.sass we are creating it. That one.sass we are that one.sass is generating CSS, and this one.sass we are importing it in app.js. This one.sass we are importing it in app.js. Yes or no? Now I can maintain either app.css or one.css or any one is also fine. Now one.css we are not using it as of now. So let it be. Now what I wanted to do, I wanted to customize Bootstrap. To customize Bootstrap, what I am doing as of now, how I am using Bootstrap, we are just importing the CSS file. This one, the CSS file we are importing. Now I don't want this. This is directly using it. We cannot customize that. So I am just deleting that. That means we are not using the CSS of Bootstrap. Now nothing works actually. See, all the styles are gone. Now we can import partial Sass file. Now if I go through Bootstrap documentation, go through Bootstrap. I go through Bootstrap. In Bootstrap, Sass is there. Sass, there are so many partials are there. If you go through so many partials, are able to see bootstrap.sass. That is a Bootstrap file which has imported so many other things. @import or @use both are same. @import is the old version, @use is the new version. Both are same. You read @import as @use. Okay. Now this bootstrap.css Sass is importing so many other Sass files. Now if we import this bootstrap.sass, indirectly all those things also will be getting it right. Yes or no? Now I'll come to one.sass and I will import that bootstrap. I'll import that bootstrap. Where is our bootstrap? I'm coming to the last line. I'm coming to the last thing and I'm importing it @import. I can use import or use also. I can use it. I'll say we are into src folder, right? I'll say /_modules, then bootstrap, then Sass, then bootstrap.sass. We are importing bootstrap.sass, which is importing so many other things. Now see our one.css. How many lines are there in our one.css? How many lines are there? 10,032 lines are there. That means all that bootstrap we have imported is coming. Here actually Visual Studio Code extension fails because we are importing bootstrap.sass. That is actually indirectly importing so many Visual Studio Code converters like Sass to CSS extensions cannot handle so many lines. So there it fails. That's why I use command. Now our one.css has everything. Now it will start working now. Understanding? Any confusion? So earlier we are directly using CSS file. Now what we are doing, we are generating that one.css by importing the Bootstrap Sass. Now everything is working fine. All that styles, everything is there. Now Sass means variables. Can we change the value of those variables? Yes, can be done. That we are going to do it. Now we'll go through the documentation. We'll be understanding it. I'll go to Bootstrap. I'll go to docs. I'm just showing you like this. So later in future, if you forgot it, you can come back here and see, and we can implement it. So here customizing, I'm clicking on Sass, and here if you go through their documentation, what they are saying import it in your own CSS file. Our CSS file, our Sass file name is one.sass. So in that one.sass, we have imported it. In our one.sass, we have imported it. Everything is coming in our CSS file because it is generating. And now what they are saying, if you go through, see, you will find variable defaults. Every Sass variable in Bootstrap includes the default flag, allowing you to override the variable's default value in your own Sass without modifying the Bootstrap source code. That means what they have done, in Sass we can create variables. They have created a partial called underscore variables, and they have created all the variables in underscore variables partially. Now I'll go to this variables file. I'll come here. Just to go to Bootstrap, as where they have showed all the variables, underscore variables. What they have done, see, all the CSS, all the styles related to spinner, they have created in spinners partial. All the styles related to tables, they have created in tables. All the styles related to popovers, they have created in popovers. And everything they have imported in bootstrap.css. That bootstrap we have imported in our one.sass. That is generating one.css. That we are importing it in our app.js, which is displaying it. Now we will go through this variables.sass. All variables they have created it. Now see here. So many variables they have created. Everything is starting with $, yes or no? So many variables. Right? Now I will search for a variable called primary. Primary, secondary, success, info, warning, danger, light, dark. For primary, they are assigning another variable called blue. Blue has actually storing color code 0D6EFD like this. No, I'll come to that. Understanding? Now, if I go to primary is a variable which is storing blue color. Secondary is a variable which they are storing gray color 600. Success is a variable, info is a variable. All these things are there. But this is the name of the variable. This is the value of the variable. A variable can hold another variable also. They are doing like that. But what is this default thing? This default means the value of this primary is blue. The value of this primary is blue. When if no other value is available. The value of the secondary is gray. When if no other value is available. No other value is available. Understanding what I am saying? See, I will give you an example. Giving purely an example, okay, you like kheer. You ask your mom, I like kheer. So your mom prepares kheer. Mom prepares kheer. You have consumed it. Your mom offers to all your family members. Still there is some left. What she will do? Very little amount left. What she will do? She eats it. She doesn't like to throw it. She eats it. If you say, I want it, what she will do? She will give it to you. If anyone wants it, she gives it to those people. If no one wants it, then instead of wasting it, she consumes it. First, if it is very little amount left, exactly the same. The value of this primary variable is blue when if no other value is assigned. That means default. Default means it is telling that if no value is assigned, assign blue to it. Now what I will do, I will take this blue primary, I will copy this variable name, I will come to one.sass. Here we have imported, right? Here we have imported. Before importing, I will say primary, I will say violet. Am I setting the color? Violet. So now see what happens. I'll refresh it. It should change to violet. Should be changed. Primary violet we have assigned. In one.css. I wanted to check whether that CSS is generated properly or not. I will go for primary. Primary is still blue only. Are you able to see primary? Violet is coming. Yes or no? The spelling is wrong. I think it is wrong. V. Violet it is detecting it. Now compile. All are variables only. One second. Now see. It has changed. Not only for button, for spinner also has changed. Everywhere. Wherever we are using primary, instead of blue, shows white. Now if I use alert, instead of blue, it will show violet for primary. Understanding what I'm saying? It's the same thing for remaining things also. Now what I will do, I'll come to variables. Why I am coming to variables? To get the name of the variable names. So I am changing it. I will come here and I will assign it. Paste it. Now I'll change the values now. I'll change the value to violet. I'll try to use the GR colors, rainbow colors. Indigo, AB blue, G green, Y yellow, let it be, or I will type here. BYO means orange or orange. And let it be. What I'll give. Uh, don't know whether that name is there or not. Now what I have done, first of all, I haven't used the CSS directly. Bootstrap CSS I haven't used directly. Because I have installed Bootstrap, we got that Sass files. I have imported that Sass into my Sass. Then I have changed the values of the variables. That is generating the CSS. That CSS we are using. Now if I come here, now any component I use, it uses these colors. Any component I use, that uses these colors. Whatever the components we have seen, that uses these colors. You are asking something. I told her. See here, if you see the Sass file, I am using the import statement at the last. I am giving the variable values, then import statement I am giving at the last. So then the system understands that these variables has values. Remaining things it use default. If I use reverse, by the time we import, it recognizes that those values are not there. It uses default ones. What is the default behavior? If it is not there, then it assigns default values. Whenever we assign this, that means before that it checks those variables as values or not. That's why we are writing before. That's what even what I am saying is according to their documentation. That's that these. Uh, Probably they might be using in generated one. That is the generated one. They are generating it. These are not. These are variables only. That is the name of the variable they have given. Actually, CSS doesn't support variables initially. After Sass supporting variables, they have added variables in CSS also. Now in CSS also you can create variables, but that CSS is not as powerful as Sass. So we are not creating CSS variables directly. We are writing it in Sass. It is created in CSS. Understood overall how to customize Bootstrap. Right? If you feel difficult, fine. That's fine. You need multiple times practice. We have worked in so much depth that this is our third session on Bootstrap. Got a point? So I want you to study it. I have covered briefly. Now you just go through their documentation, their website. You will be understanding it much better. Now by attending the sessions, you will be getting basic idea. By practicing it, you will get a bit more expertise. By going through their documentation also, you will be getting more expertise. That you have to do it. Got my point? Now, if you wanted to develop website for Geo, for example, you use Bootstrap for everything. You take Geo colors. If you want to develop a website for Apple, use Bootstrap. Change the colors to Apple colors. Like that you have to. Understanding what I'm saying? Any complications? I want you to try. Okay. Any questions here? Because they have created separate components for them. What is the You're talking about forms. That is their component names. See, spinner is something which I haven't created. That's the name of the component. So, what is React Bootstrap? They have created around 100 or 200 components. Accordion is a component. Accordion item is a component. Accordion title is a component. All these things we'll be using it in accordion. Now, instead of understanding accordion, accordion title, accordion item, all those things, you just go and copy paste it and change, customize it according to your customization level is sufficient. No need to understand in depth. See, if I wanted to use bike, how to use accelerator, how to take left turn, right turn is important. How carburetor is working, how petrol is passing, how it is burning. Usually not required. That is the need of a mechanic actually. But still, if you are interested, you can do component. That's why we are. Everything is important only. Got a point? Have you heard about React Native? React Native is nothing but mobile application development. That is like Bootstrap only. If you wanted to develop mobile application development, we have to import React Native and use its components. That's it. React Native is much smaller than Bootstrap in the point of size, in the point of number of components. But anyway, I will be sharing those recordings at the last. You can understand. Clear? So from now onwards, I don't want you to create CSS file. I want you to create Sass file that internally generates CSS. For every project, I want you to implement Bootstrap. I want you to implement Bootstrap. There are so many things are there. I just go through about their documentation. You can get it. I can take another 5 sessions on this Bootstrap, but it is not more worth than the sessions. If we cover another 5 sessions on Bootstrap, we'll be missing some other important. Got my point? There are inbuilt classes are there. You just go through about those classes. You will understand. Now you just copy the component and you see what are the classes they have used. So what I want you to do, you just go to Bootstrap. Docs. No, no, no. That is foolishness. Why you remember each and everything? You just take the samples, use it according to your requirements. Now there are certain important things out there, like containers also not much required. We use the flex boxes. There's something called layout there. Breakpoints anyway we have already worked on it at the time of media queries. Probably you can use this fluid. Now they have created. There is no rule that you have to use it. So basically, if you use something called if you use a class called container-fluid, It will take 100% of the width. You can create a div and make width 100%. There is no rule that you must have. You should use this class. I'm just telling you, there are classes everything it is there. But if you study too much depth into Bootstrap, you'll face problems. Why? Someone says use material UI, then how do you do that? So what we have to use from Bootstrap, use components. Layout creation, everything we should be doing it on our own using flexboxes. Got my point? If layout also you are creating using Bootstrap, if they say use material UI, then you have to work on how to create the layout using material. But layout we already know, we have worked on flexbox. They are using flexbox only internally. They are not creating something and we are giving it. They are using flexbox internally. So I recommend you from layout creation, use flexbox, divs and all those things. Components, use Bootstrap. You can create layout also using Bootstrap. But personally, you just go through it, study it. There is nothing wrong with it. But I recommend use your own knowledge instead of using those things. Okay. So this container fluid, no, they are just specifying the sizes. You create a div, and for that you give the class name called container or container fluid. It will be taking different sizes according to different sizes of the difference. These things we have already done it using media queries. Use media queries instead of these inbuilt classes. Got it? That I wanted to say. There are other mechanisms are also there to customize Bootstrap. There are certain people who directly goes to variables, underscore variables, and they'll modify the changes. They'll change the primary variable is there, right? They'll change it to violet there. In underscore variables, Sass itself. That is danger. Why? Later, new version of Bootstrap comes into existence, like version 6. Now you upgrade to version 6. That variables, underscore variables will be replaced with the new version. Gone. All your changes, what you have done in those default Sass files will be replaced with the new version. That's why we should not use that. We should not do that. We import that Bootstrap and we change the variables in our own CSS. Even if you change it to new version also, we haven't done any changes in their original files. So that will be replaced, it will not harm us. That's why we have to follow this approach. People who are short-sighted, it's working now, then we'll go. If someone says update the new version of Bootstrap, gone. Everything fits. You should not do that. Okay. Customizing Bootstrap.